The bloodshed continues in Myanmar's disturbed state of Rakhine, where Myanmar's armed forces launched a military operation to flush out armed militants of the separatist Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, or ARSA. This time, the Myanmar Army reports that a grave containing 28 Hindu villagers has been found in the state. But the distressing announcement throws up more questions than revelations on the mass murder. It's been just days since Myanmar State Councillor Su Kyi issued an open invitation to the world to come to Myanmar and verify for themselves that her government and Myanmar's armed forces are not indulging in what human rights groups are calling ethnic cleansing of the Rohingya community. The Rakhine state, yet it's only Myanmar's army that has so far confirmed a terrible discovery of a grave containing the bodies of 28 men, women and children near a village. Some journalists claim that they have met fleeing Hindu Rohingya in Bangladesh who confirmed attacks on their villages by ARSA militants. The army claims that the villagers were Hindu, among 100 villagers rounded up by 300 armed separatists of the ARSA, abducted and brought to a nearby jungle and then killed. But the questions on everyone's minds have not been answered. It is true that the Rohingya ethnic group of Myanmar is originally from Bengal and that there are Hindus among the predominantly Muslim Rohingya community that is widely disliked in Myanmar as well. So far, no eyewitness has spoken or been quoted by the one source, the military. And there's another coincidence that can't escape notice. Predominantly Hindu India too has come under fire from Western human rights groups for its threat to deport illegal Rohingya refugees. WION senior foreign editor Padma Rao joins me live on the broadcast for more on that story. Padma, you in fact filed that report for us. In your opinion, how exactly does one read reports like the ones that we've seen of these graves belonging or the bodies belonging to the Hindu religion? How exactly can that be corroborated when there's so little information coming out from the ground itself?
Well, you know, it depends on whom you ask. If you ask the armed forces of any country engaged in military operations against in sectarian conflicts, for instance in Sri Lanka, and as the one that's going on in Rakhine, they will obviously keep civilians out, and that includes journalists, because from the security point of view they say that they cannot guarantee your safety. There may be landmines, there are still militants, as in this case the Rohingya Salvation Army, afoot. So this is one of the more, let's say, kosher reasons why armies tend to keep people out when there is fighting going on. On the other hand, there have been allegations in this case, but indeed in many cases, even in the case of Sri Lanka, there's always been human rights allegations that the reason why we are being kept out is because the army in conducting an operation there has something to hide. Now that is not necessarily true. Perhaps the army in this case did conduct, other than the obvious physical signs, perhaps, that the men, of these 45 bodies that were found, in the meantime there were 45 bodies found in 3 different pits, that the boys and the men were not circumcised, as is the Muslim tradition, so that they may have, deduced that these are Hindu victims.
Sure.
And maybe they had, inputs from the neighboring villagers. But so we cannot really discount what the army is saying. However, it would be a great help if perhaps, if not, opening the floodgates to all journalists, if they could at least organize a team of neutral observers, perhaps from other countries of their choice, to come in there and actually see what's going on the ground. It might help uplift Myanmar's image.
Right, but why do you think, Padma, or do you feel in some ways that Aung San Suu Kyi's invitation to come to Rakhine to determine for yourself exactly what's going on rings hollow if independent journalists or observers don't even feel safe in making their way over there to verify facts such as these?
Well, to be very honest, Aisha, I have, very mixed feelings about there are journalists and journalists. There are many people with agendas, and this is really true. I have covered the conflict in Sri Lanka for 16 years, as you know, and there are many journalists who are, on agendas of influential media concerns, which again have certain political concerns, and politicians always, are looking for votes. So then, they tend to churn out a certain kind of copy. This is what all governments and all armies are really wary of, and this is also one of the reasons why, people don't have free reign of, are not allowed, journalists are not allowed to freely go where they want to in certain restricted areas, even in India. But having said that, yes, there are very many genuine observers. And, as I said, the government of Myanmar could certainly pick and choose its own among the international observers, or perhaps even invite an international organization. But the trouble with that again is that many of these international so-called neutral organizations, global bodies, are in the meantime, are laden with political agendas. And I've seen that, I'm quite convinced of that after seeing what happened in Sri Lanka and to Sri Lanka in such international bodies. So I do understand the guardedness of the Myanmar government, but at the same time, she has made that offer. Now, I can imagine that people are queuing up and, for visas to go there. But I don't think they're going to just let anyone in. I think they're certainly going to be selective about whom they let in. Absolutely, and I suppose verification on facts such as these will have to wait till such time reporters can make their way over to verify the facts. Padma Rao, thanks so much for joining us on the broadcast with those details.